Hey guys, welcome back to the EXP podcast. I'm Nishquick, and I'm once again joined by Ed from Triforce Trend. So this is gonna be like a post Tears of the Kingdom discussion. If you guys remember, Triforce Trends and I did a little bit of a pre-Tears of the Kingdom discussion. We talked about Zelda as well as a bit of Xenoblade, but now we're gonna talk about like it's been a little less than 6 months, but it's been a while. So yeah, Triforce Trends, you want to introduce yourself to new viewers? And a lot of people might know who you are. Zelda fans definitely know who you are, but you want to give a little bit of an introduction?
My name is Ed. I am Triforce Trend. Ha! Yeah, I've barely been uploading recently, but I do like the series, I promise.
Yes, 1/3 of the Cave Boys as well, so yeah.
Yes. How could I forget?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you about Tears of the Kingdom. It's been quite the post-launch, there has been a lot to discuss about this game, and I'm just happy to discuss it with another Zelda fan. And yeah, we're just going to be talking about dungeons, story, gameplay progression, and even like what's coming in the future. But before we talk about any of that, I just wanted to like ask you, because I know you've played both of these games, so how is your Spider-Man experience and how is your Mario experience? Because I've only been playing Spider-Man, and I beat Spider-Man recently, and I loved it. It's probably my number 3 game of the year. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would, and I know we're both huge Spider-Man fans, so I wanted to get your opinion on what you thought of it.
I thought it was pretty much better than the first in every way, which I already thought was a really good game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I finished it last week, I think, on Tuesday, I think. It was so good. It was so good. I think it's probably my second favorite game of the year, I think. It's so good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every second. All the side content was better. The main quest. I have definitely 1 or 2 issues with Act 3 in the game, I think. But apart from that, I think it's virtually flawless.
Yeah, and even like the difficulty wise, it's a lot tougher. Like the bosses are tougher, the enemies are tougher. I had to like really spec my Spider-Man like as good as they could be. So yeah, it was fantastic. I don't know if I'll do like a video on it, but I really loved Spider-Man. It just felt like a very fun experience after like so many, like I've been playing like RPG after RPG after RPG, and then I just played Spider-Man. I was like, it's nice to just swing around and have fun. But how's Mario Wonder? Because I haven't played that yet.
I'm not gonna lie, I spent way more time playing Spider-Man. Yeah. So I think I finished the second world of Mario Wonder. I don't have any complaints as of yet, but I was very strange because I got really hooked to it when I first got the game on the same day as Spider-Man, but then I got really into Spider-Man, and I think the love for Mario just slowly faded a bit more. Yeah. So getting back into it's been really tough, but it's still a really good game. Yeah. And the thing is, I'm not that much of a 2D Mario fan in general, so the fact that it's hooking me as much as it did is still insane, I think. Yeah. And the creativity behind it is nuts.
I'm also more of a Odyssey Galaxy 64 fan when it comes to Mario, and even more like the RPG side. Like I loved Bowser's Inside Story. I'm excited for Thousand Year Door and Mario RPG, but I'm very happy with how Mario Wonder looks, because like I was one of those people who got really tired of New Super Mario Bros. Even after the second one on the Wii, I was like, I love the Wii one, and then they did the 3DS and the Wii U ones. I was like, these look silly and lame and boring. So it
was the same year as well. Yeah. They really they got those out quick.
Yeah, it was weird, but I think with Spider-Man had that story which kept me coming back.
Yeah, it's the hook.
And the story just kept getting better and better. Yeah.
Yeah, true. It really did. The first act was okay. The second act was really good. Then the third ended off pretty good, I think. It wasn't as good. It wasn't as bad. It wasn't as okay as the first act. Yeah. But it wasn't as good as the second, I don't think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Good.
Yeah, especially for me, I'm a personal fan of the Raimi Spider-Man movies, like the Tobey Maguire movies, and like, what I love the most about Spider-Man 2, the game, is it really nailed that Harry, Peter, MJ dynamic so well, and it made it, like, new and refreshing. I was like, yes, I love all of this. I love it.
Yeah.
As a classic Spider-Man fan, I loved it. But yeah, let's talk Zelda. So, it's been 6 months. I mean, it hasn't been 6 months. In about 2 weeks, it'll be officially 6 months, because we're recording this at the end of October. But general thoughts, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom is a phenomenal game. We all know that. But coming from you especially, I've seen some of your videos, but what are your overall thoughts on what we got versus what you expected and all that stuff?
I think that there definitely is a point to be made about how much copy and paste content was in the game.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, we're going to talk about the story stuff later as a hook, so we'll get into that stuff later, but I do think in more recent, like the last 3 months anyway, I think the wider gaming sphere agrees that Zelda is ridiculously good. It's just, it's great in every way.
It is a top game of the year contender. Yeah.
Exactly, but then the Zelda community, it's been weird. Being a part of it, it's been like, it started here, like, yes, this game is perfect, and then it slowly kind of faded. Now it's like here.
Yeah, for me,
and I don't know, I think,
go on.
For
For me, my love of the game is still strong. Like, I always tell people this, like, I may have posted my list on Twitter a few times, like, I made a list of my top 50 games of all time, and Tears of the Kingdom is number 4. It is, like, that high up there. But, like, I always say this, like, of course, like, throughout, like, I don't know, like, after maybe June or July, I was like, oh, I've beaten the game, I have some time to think about it. Then I was like, oh, here are the criticisms I have. But that doesn't change the fact that this game, like, here's the thing about the game. The game is doing things that no other video game is doing. And that already sets it, like, leaps and bounds above everything else, no matter what, like, flaws it might have. Yeah.
Which video was it? I watched, have you heard of King K?
Yes, I love King K. He's one of my favorite
Did you
YouTubers.
See his Tears of the Kingdom video?
I haven't seen the newest one. I've seen the... Okay, so he called, like, those 3 videos, like, the 3 pieces of the Triforce. I've seen the red one, I've seen the power one, but I've yet to see his updated Breath of the Wild one, and then his Tears of the Kingdom one. But I'm very excited to sit down and watch those hour-long videos. I love his takes, I love whatever he has to say.
Yeah, his Zelda videos are really good. Point is, I dropped a comment in there which pretty much mimics exactly what you said about how it's different to anything that's coming out. And it was just the fact that the games give you freedom, but not in the Ubisoft game kind of way. It's not in the GTA way either, where it's like it's freedom, but then at some point you will have to go through something at a linear order. Yeah, it is complete and utter freedom, and I think, I don't know, they offer true player-driven experiences with creative barriers that just aren't there. Yeah. Whereas, I don't know, even in Breath of the Wild, could you make your own car?
Exactly. No. Yeah, I think the big separating thing from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom is maybe not, like, of course, there are new things in the world, but it's how you interact with the world, because that's what I love so much about both of these games, is how you interact with the world, like burning down objects, rolling logs and boulders and all that, but it's so different with the arm abilities now. And, like, exactly, like, you mentioned the Ubisoft formula. Like, I also kind of like to club in Horizon into this. I enjoy Horizon. It's nothing like Zelda, because Zelda doesn't give you, like, a bunch of things to do and says, go do all this. And I wouldn't say Spider-Man does this. Spider-Man has good rewards. I love Spider-Man's rewards. So that's what, like, I love about the side content of Spider-Man. But the thing about Zelda is, like, you have to find all those things yourself. You have to find the shrines, the stables, the Koroks, the anything else in the world, the side adventures, all that stuff. You have to find that all yourself, and I love doing that. Yeah. But I think the big... Exactly, I agree. Yeah, the big thing that I loved seeing about Tears of the Kingdom is when developers came out and said, like, hey, this arm ability stuff, this Ultra Hand and Recall and Fuse stuff, we didn't know that this was possible after working in the game industry for such a long time. And I was like, this speaks to like the fact that like Nintendo can still wow everyone so many years later. On the Switch, like that's what I said this in a video. I was like, Tears of the Kingdom is doing things where you can go from the sky. Like, I showed one of my friends this who doesn't have the game yet. Yeah. I went to like a really high sky island and I was like, hey, watch this. And I skydived all the way down into the surface, down into the depths. And he's like, dude, how'd you do that? And I was like, I just did it.
I just did it. Yeah, they allowed me to. I think that's the, I think even, you know, I think the biggest game of the year contender, I haven't played it, so I can't really speak to its quality, but the other one is Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate, yeah.
And while that game is probably really good, from a technological standpoint, I think it's the magic that Nintendo have been able to pull off with Tears of the Kingdom. Admittedly, there is slowdown and everything.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can get it running on the Switch, which is basically just a GameCube.
Yeah.
A GameCube with like that's been overclocked.
Yeah. It's relatively stable. It is still a relatively stable experience on the Switch. And the thing with Baldur's Gate that I've noticed, people say it's technically like a powerful game, but I have realized that that's in the content that it has. The choices, the dialogue, the
RPG element.
Yeah, the RPG stuff. And even then, like, I don't know, like, Baldur's Gate is not my cup of tea. Maybe, like, in another year or two, I might give it a shot, but it's really interesting hearing people talk about that game. Because initially, I was like, oh, I don't know about Baldur's Gate, and now it's getting so much praise, and I'm like, maybe it could, like, the thing is, I said it from the start of the year, I was like, hey, Zelda is not a lock for the game of the year. It would be great if it wins again, and it is my personal #1 game of the year, but I was like, I don't think it's a lock. And everyone was like, oh, Zelda game of the year, and then Baldur's Gate came, and I was like, of all the games to dethrone it, I didn't think it would be Baldur's Gate. So that's a very interesting kind of like turn of events for gaming this year. So yeah,
for sure. I mean, this has nothing to do with this, but I think it's interesting as well seeing the discussion around Baldur's Gate as opposed to the discussion around Starfield.
Oh, yes. Oh my god, like I thought that Starfield was going to be like the Tears of the Kingdom dethroner, because do you remember like in June when we got that Starfield direct? It was called the Starfield. Everyone was like, dude, Starfield, like it looks amazing, like screw Zelda, like Zelda like lost, and I'm like, really? Like Starfield looks cool, but like is it? And then the game came out and I went back to all those people, I'm like, hey, how's Starfield? And they're like, it kind of sucks.
The thing is, funnily enough, I paid for it twice.
Yeah. Oh,
Starfield, because, dude, I didn't realize I had different Xbox accounts, so I bought it on one PC, then on another PC, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. But I played the game for, give or take, 20 hours.
Okay.
And I had fun with it, but at no point did I think it was a Zelda dethroner.
Yeah.
When playing it. I think beforehand, I think I had some thoughts that it could be, because Bethesda are a really good game developer.
Yeah.
But their biggest problem is innovation, and they haven't innovated since Skyrim, and it's become a big problem the last 3-4 games.
Yeah, and is it using the same engine as Skyrim and all the other games, sort of, just like enhanced?
I'm honestly not certain. It would be probably enhanced.
Because a lot of people are saying like it feels similar to Skyrim, it feels similar to Fallout and all these games, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. And people say, like the consensus, it's not a Tears of the Kingdom dethroner. I've even heard that it's not a No Man's Sky dethroner, because people are like, oh, all this like space travel, I wanted to do that, but Starfield didn't give me that like actual freedom in space travel that No Man's Sky did. They gave a more like a realistic depiction of it, which was
the thing is, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I was kind of a No Man's Sky fan from launch, I'd say. Like, it came out and I was like, that's not as bad as people are saying. I think it's alright.
Yeah.
If you want to like burn some time, but then I don't know. I think the game was fine.
Yeah.
Starfield, I think in marketing, they very skillfully tried to switch the conversation away from No Man's Sky-like elements.
Yeah.
Apart from the mining.
Okay.
That was the only thing that looks like No Man's Sky.
Okay.
But then the actual everything else, they just kind of didn't show it, or they showed it and they didn't specify that's what it would be like in the game.
Yeah.
Which was odd. I mean, I think Starfield though, it is. If it came out 10 years ago, it would have been really good.
Yeah.
Bethesda are just losing some innovation, so I think in general, it's a really good game, but it's not the Zelda dethroner, it's not the Baldur's Gate dethroner.
It's not what Bethesda needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after Fallout 76.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the expectation and the hype just didn't really meet what we got with Starfield, but I mean, we still got Tears of the Kingdom, so that's great. But yeah,
Yes.
In terms of Tears of the Kingdom, the two biggest things that I wanted, I knew like the world, the changes, all of that were going to be great. The two big things were dungeons and story for me. And I will say both of those were better than Breath of the Wild, but I still have some like, I wish they could do this, I wish they could do that, and like hopes and wishes for the future. So I want to ask you, I watched your video on the dungeons a while back as well, but what are your overall thoughts on the dungeons, and like, what is your favorite, what worked, what didn't work, and yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that.
Right, okay, I'm going to try and go through them semi-briskly, and I will go through them in the order that I first finished them, I think.
Oh, yeah.
1, Wind Temple. Pretty peak.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not
it's
not my favorite, but it's like second favorite easily.
Yeah, it was good.
I think it was really good. I think it's Van Meadow, but better. Very much so.
Oh, yeah, that's a good like analogy. It's Valmetto but better. Yeah.
Valmetto but better. I genuinely I can't think of anything else that I could say for it. I think it was a stronger depiction of most of the dungeons from Breath of the Wild. So that's great. I think that one in particular was more like a Divine Beast than any of them. And I think it was one of the best for it, which is odd.
Yeah.
Next was the Fire Temple. I might get flack for this in the current year, but I think that this one is definitely going to go up in a lot of people's rankings in the future.
It wasn't bad. I think people really hated the Fire Temple, and when I heard their like criticisms, I was like, oh, really? Is that why you hated it? Because like, I think here's the thing about the Fire Temple is it was the most non-linear. Like that's a big problem people had with the dungeons. They were like very non-linear, and the Fire Temple, you didn't even need to use the minecarts a lot of the times. But I was like, hey, this is a cool concept that they have going for it.
God, yeah. I think the concept was really cool. So that's the first thing. I think the theme is the second strongest.
Yeah.
Maybe third.
Like, you mean the setting and stuff?
Yeah, the setting and everything. I mean, even before going into the Fire Temple, I actually had a video idea planned called What Was Gorondia, or whatever the Lost City was called.
Yeah.
Then it happened, and then I was like, wow, okay, that's great. I think a lot of people's criticisms was that they, in their words a lot of the time, could cheese it.
Yeah.
But I think that lends itself to a hell of a lot more replays than, as an example, Wind Temple.
Which is more straightforward.
Yeah. Where it's just like, go do a thing, do that thing in that puzzle area, do that.
Even the puzzles were a bit more straightforward in Wind Temple, because like a lot of the puzzles in these dungeons, you could do them whatever way you wanted, which was cool because of the arm abilities, but Wind Temple was a little more straightforward. It's just you could do whichever terminal you wanted in whatever order. Yeah,
I think Wind Temple in particular was definitely more linear.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how people rank them. But anyway, Fire Temple. Yeah, I thought it was okay. It's not my most disliked, because that goes to Water Temple.
Okay.
So, Water Temple. I don't know. I didn't like the theme at all, really. I think the wellspring underneath it, or whatever that area is
that
called.
Was cool.
That was very cool.
Zoro Waterworks or something.
Yeah, it was Waterworks, that was it, yes.
That was cool.
And then they go into the Water Temple, and then it's like, a Water Temple in the sky wasn't the play, in my opinion. And the puzzles were all very segmented. Like the rest of them were pretty segmented. I think Wind Temples are quite segmented, but I think the difference between Wind Temple and Water Temple is that one pulled it off and one didn't.
Yeah.
I actually harken back to the Divine Beast more with the Water Temple because I think they're very similar.
Okay, yeah.
I think I don't know, when I think of a Water Temple, the Water Temple, sorry, I just think, okay, that's a Divine Beast quality of dungeon.
Yeah.
Lightning Temple is my favorite.
Yeah.
I will not expand. No, I think it has the best theme.
Yeah.
And I like a desert dungeon. I'm an Arbiter's Ground sucker, so I loved it.
Yeah.
And then, Spirit Temple. Third favorite, I think.
Do you club that in with Construct Factory?
Yes.
Okay.
Construct Factory, Spirit Temple. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Great. I think that the dungeon lineup, I've only finished them through twice, is not as strong as Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time
or Skyward Sword.
Probably Skyward Sword. But I think it's probably stronger than the rest.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, I will say, it's better than Wind Waker. Wind Waker is I still like Wind Waker dungeons, dude. I just wish they were better. I wish they were better.
Yeah, because everything else in that game that would be my favorite Zelda game if it wasn't for it was for better dungeons. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm very hard on Wind Waker. I need to continue my replay of that, but yeah, Wind Waker dungeons, unfortunately, not as peak. Majora's Mask dungeons I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed Snowhead a lot, and Stone Tower is my favorite dungeon in all of Zelda, so that's my thing.
Yeah, to be fair, sometimes I forget about Stone Tower, and I know it's a fan favorite. I'm not as you know, I don't love it as much. One thing that Tears of the Kingdom Dungeons does really well, I'm gonna sound like a broken record from every other Zelda fan 3 months ago, but the build-up. The build-up for pretty much everyone is great.
Especially the Wind Temple. That one was great.
Wind Temple build-up is insane.
Wind Temple and Lightning Temple, I will, okay, a lot of people say Wind Temple lead up is one of the best moments in Zelda. I loved it, and I did. It was great. I think I preferred the Lightning Temple lead up because that's one thing I wished for more in Tears of the Kingdom, those main story quests leading to the dungeons. I wish they were more like the Lightning Temple lead up, because that was amazing. You're rallying all the Gerudo, you're training them with the different ways to attack the Gibdo, and then you do the whole siege against Gerudo Town with the Gibdo and Riju and all the Gerudo warriors, and that was amazing. And then searching for the Lightning Temple in this barren wasteland of the Gerudo Desert, finding it, fighting the Queen Gibdo, who's the boss of the dungeon before even going into the dungeon, and then going into the dungeon and doing the dungeon, fighting the Queen Gibdo, and all that was amazing. But yeah,
I thought that was really great. Because I did it as my last one as well, I think it really hit home more than Fire Temple and Water Temple in particular.
Yeah.
So it was just, I loved it. I think the build-up actually made me think of Age of Calamity as well. Quite a lot. Because
you're right.
I was thinking about some of the Gerudo levels on that, and I was like, wow.
Even you just said Age of Calamity, even the way they have the dialogue as you're fighting, they're this side of Gerudo Desert has been compromised or something. That gave me Warriors and Hyrule Warriors vibes as well. So yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there. But yeah, Water Temple was interesting because Water Temple was my second, and Wind Temple was my first. Wind Temple was good, but I remember going into the Wind Temple and I was like, oh my god, it's the Stormwind arc, oh my god, it's the Wind Temple. And then I do the dungeon, and then I realized that it's still terminals, and then my excitement just kind of went down a bit, and I was like, okay, it's still terminals, it's like Breath of the Wild, but at least it has a theme, at least it has a location, at least this won't be what the other dungeons look like, and the music was good, the build-up was good. I still wish that, but here's the thing, I've realized this, I've kind of reconciled with this, my whole wish for them to go back to the old formula of dungeons, I just it just can't work anymore, especially with the design philosophy that they have, because they're like, we don't want to be restricted by any of this, and we don't want the players to be restricted by it. So it kind of made sense, you know. So I like that compromise. Yeah,
I think for sure. And I think the other thing is as well, I think a lot of us that were hoping for more traditional dungeons maybe being a little bit too hopeful looking back, because if it's literally a sequel in the same world, if they're gonna reuse the same engine and stuff, they are gonna at least reuse the same formula of dungeon. It's just that I think a lot of us really just wanted themed dungeons, which in the end
we got it.
We got it. The terminals. I mean, the thing is as well, I feel like they're probably just gonna experiment with dungeon formulas for a little while, because I can't imagine that that's gonna stick around, just because. Even for the Zelda team, I feel like it has to be a little bit restricted. Because just like, do 5 puzzles, here's where they are.
Yeah.
And then that's just kind of it. I think they'll want to do something more with the idea in the future. But I think for a sequel to Breath of the Wild, I think they expanded on the dungeons just as much as I would have liked. Though I do kind of miss mini bosses.
Yeah, like, I miss the mini bosses, and I miss the, like, I don't know how else to call it, but the Metroidvania style of going through the dungeons. Like, oh, you can do this part first, you go through here with the small keys, get the dungeon item, and maybe go back to the beginning and then like go to this area you couldn't with your new dungeon item. So that's cool. And some people like equated the Sage abilities to dungeon items. I didn't really see it that way, but it was still cool using those in the dungeons, because like Breath of the Wild didn't have anything like that.
Yeah, they were definitely throwing us a bone with all that stuff, I think. I mean, I think they were just throwing us a bone, which is appreciated more than not throwing us a bone, though, because if you aren't going to throw us a bone with items, it just can make each dungeon. That's one of the reasons why each dungeon felt so samey.
Yeah,
it's because you didn't have anything in your brain to relate it back to. So when you think of the Wind Temple, you think of Tulin.
Yeah.
When you think of the Fire Temple, give or take, you think of Yunobo.
Yeah.
And the rest.
But
I don't know, apart from maybe Sidon, dude got so unlucky with the ability.
You know, I will say this, I enjoyed using some of Sidon's abilities with the puzzles of the Water Temple. Like, they weren't the best, but like I remember one of them was like, oh, you can get this like water shield around Link, and then you can like walk into the fire. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like otherwise, I think Sidon's abilities were not used as much for me outside of combat, like I'm sorry, outside of the dungeon. The only two when I realized that I could disable the Sage abilities, the only one I kept Tulin for the entire game. From when I beat the Wind Temple to when I beat the game, Tulin was with me the entire time. And then when I got Riju and Minoru, I used them a lot, because Minoru is just fun to like add stuff. The Minoru construct was such a great idea. I still think that like when I realized that you could attach like Zonai devices or anything for that matter to the Minoru construct, I was like, what? Yeah. And the Minoru construct, real quick side tangent, was a very good thing to use when you're mining for Zonite in the depths. 'Cause, I would just bomb everything with the cannons.
Yeah, I mean, I used Yunobo for a little bit of, in the caves, if you saw some rubble.
Oh, yeah.
I'd take Yunobo out, and I'd be like, hey, dude, use that, because I don't want to waste my bomb flowers.
Yeah.
Do it.
Good idea. Yeah. Sidon I never used. Riju was fun to use because she would be, like, very, like, active in the combat. I wouldn't really use her ability much, but she would be very active in helping me out with tougher enemies, so I enjoyed that. But Water Temple was interesting. Some puzzles were all right, and Lightning Temple was good because there were some puzzles that really like tripped me up, and I was like, hey, like I have to sit down and think, what am I supposed to do here? How do I solve this? And it just kind of brought me back to the Spirit Temple and Ocarina of Time with the light puzzles and the mirror shield and the sun dials and all that. So that was a lot of fun. I will say, boss wise, what were your favorite bosses? And my hot take is I enjoyed refighting the bosses in the depths, because after I beat some of them, I'm like, dang, I wish I could do that again. And they're down in the depths. Like when I saw Bulgur in the depths, I was like, what?
Dude, yeah, that's crazy. That Bulgur in particular, that moment is insane, because you look out on like the top of like a depths mountain and you just see Bulgur, and he's like his entire body is flying around. I'm like, what the?
What are you doing here? Yeah. So what are your favorite bosses from this game?
I really haven't made my peace with this yet. Hold on. I think my old Zelda bias tells me Bulgur.
Oh yeah, that was a phenomenal moment, especially when you hear the Dragon Roost music. I was like, wow. Yeah, the Zelda fan in me just that was a moment. Yeah.
Because that boss is very traditional Zelda.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
I think just going through my opinions on most bosses, I think the Construct boss was really cool, just as a concept. Basically doing like I don't know, like a concept of two Spider-Men fighting as an example.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
Yeah.
Then you got Goma. Just seeing a Goma in a Zelda game after asking for it for so long, it just felt great. It felt fantastic.
You know what's funny is, remember in the last trailer, we thought that Bulgur was going to be our Goma, but then we got actually the marble Goma, so in hindsight, that's funny. Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. But I think Goma was the near perfect in between of a boss from Breath of the Wild and a boss that's traditional.
Yeah.
There's a weakness, but it's not too overpowered.
Yeah, I think the Goma fight in the Fire Temple was way too easy because of like Yunobo being able to like roll around and hit it. So that was a little unfortunate. I was like, oh, it was too easy. But then when I fought him in the depths, I actually got a game over, and I was like, dang, he's actually tough. So like that was my big like downside with Goma. I was like, too easy. And then I fought him in the depths, and I was like, oh wait, he's actually kind of difficult.
Yo, this guy slaps.
Yeah.
Queen Gibdo, for me, the hardest boss by far. For me, I genuinely, even when I was like nearing the end of my playthrough, I was like, dude, that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just gives you sensory overload, but I think it's the right amount of sensory overload.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Was it you having to like run up to Riju and always activate her ability? Was it that?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to activate the ability, then you've got to do the mirror shield, and then Gibdos start to spawn as well. And it's like, this is a lot, but this is fun.
Yeah.
And then Water Temple. I can't even remember the name.
Muktarok.
From the trailers, I thought it was gonna be a really cool fight, because I didn't know if it was gonna be a boss or a mini boss.
Yeah.
It was a cool fight, but it was kind of the Twilight Princess trap of making an epic boss at the expense of it kind of not being that fun.
Yeah, and my problem with Muktarok is it's just a very slow fight, and like here's the thing, I initially was only using Sidon, and I was like, I have to run up to Sidon in the sludge, and it's slow, and like I can't get to him, and then I realized I could use like, I forgot what they were called, like the splash fruits. So I threw the splash fruits, and that like helped like speed things up, but I was like, still like, this is just a very tedious boss, and it's very annoying. So I enjoyed Queen Gibdo a lot, because that was like a challenge, but it was a good challenge, because I remember a lot of people saying like, dude, this boss is so tough, I'm having a really tough time with it. And then when I did it, I beat it on my first try, and I thought it was relatively easy, but it was still a decent challenge, so I enjoyed that a lot. I loved even the overworld bosses, like the Gleeoks were everything I wanted from this game, and I am so happy we got the Gleeoks. They were so much fun. Like
they are the Lionel of Tears of the Kingdom, but better than the Lionel, which is insane.
Lionels. And like I know it's silly to compare like any of these bosses to like Souls bosses or anything, but it felt that difficult because I was like, hey, like my first one I fought was the Frost Gleeok near that stable in Hebra region or Tabantha region, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. I am not like doing this right. There's something I'm not doing right. And once I like tried different tactics with different fusions, with different like creations and all that, then I really realized what I had to do. And you know, it's kind of funny. That Frost Gleeok has a really cool final phase where it brings down the icicles. You have to recall it all the way up. I never got to that final phase because I had such an OP like fire fused blade that I just like destroyed it in the second phase. So that was great. Yeah, like all the Gleeoks were just a lot of fun. Fighting the one on Bridge of Hylia and then fighting the one in the Colosseum. Those are all just fantastic. I love doing all those. Yeah.
God, yeah. Also, Frogs, I think they're called.
Frogs were cool, yeah.
Frogs are cool. They are. You know what? At the time when the game came out, I used to think they were a worse Hinox.
Yeah. I'm
gonna go around on that. I'm gonna say it's a better Hinox.
Yeah.
And just in the way that it performs, in the way that it does stuff, it's just a better Hinox. It's great.
They're more foreboding, and I think I would compare them more to the Stone Taluses because you have to go on their back and hit the rocks. Yeah, and
that's fair enough. Yeah,
I love the Stone Taluses have like the wooden planks that you can ascend through. That was cool.
Oh, that was very cool. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and there was another mini boss in Flux Constructs. I enjoy the Flux Constructs.
Yeah, they're very cool. There's a lot of them, but they are cool.
Yeah, I just was a little upset that with the labyrinths, that was your reward, a Flux Construct. I was like, Yeah.
Dude, it's not even that, and then the reward after beating the construct is what it is, and it's just like,
But those labyrinths, like the experience going through those labyrinths was amazing, because one of my friends, who's not a huge Zelda fan or anything, he was playing through this game, and he was like, dude, the labyrinths are the best thing that I've ever done in the game. And I was like, are you serious? Like, dude, have you like gone in the depths? Have you like done the Gleeok fights? Like, there's so many other cool things to do in the game. What the heck, the labyrinths? Like, I was just thinking about the labyrinths from Breath of the Wild. I was like, okay, those are all right. Some of them are in the sky, whatever. That's just whatever, right? And then I do it from surface to sky to the depths, and I was like, wow, that's actually what I wanted one of the dungeons to be like in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
But we got it with the labyrinth, so that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna finish up on bosses, then God, Ganondorf's so good.
I think this is a very tough, like, point to make, but like before Tears of the Kingdom, my favorite final boss and maybe my favorite boss of all time was Demise. But I really think Tears of the Kingdom beats it in every way. And
yes, I actually fully agree with that.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would like make it my favorite boss fight of all time, but I think it might be, because especially the final phase with the Demon Dragon leaps and bounds better than Dark Beast Ganon. And the fact that Zelda the Light Dragon is there with you is amazing. And one cool piece of like technical Nintendo Switch Zelda team mastery is no matter where you are, no matter where you are in the sky free falling, Zelda will come and catch you. Like that's just like how
it's mind-boggling. They really are masters. I mean, dude, just Ganondorf is just so imposing. He just randomly the first time he did a flurry rush against me, or not a flurry rush, he went into bullet time against me. He dodged out of the way, and I'm like, what? Don't hit me.
that was a crazy moment. I was like, wow, I am fighting like someone significantly better than me, but he's fighting the same way as I am. Yeah. And he uses different gloom weapons as well. Yeah, so that was cool.
Dude, and when are the I mean, we're gonna get into story real soon.
Yeah.
But I think story-wise, just the way that it plays out and everything, and bringing the sages in, was great.
That whole end game was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I actually found getting through the Beneath Hyrule Castle pretty tough as well, because I was doing it a really stupid way. But I did it eventually, and it was hard. And I was like, wow, that was a hard end of Zelda game. That never happens. Usually the games get way easier as time goes on.
Yeah, there's so much gloom down. There are so many gloom enemies, and they're taking all your hearts away.
Yeah.
And like, if I didn't, like, I had so many Sundelions, so I just cooked all of them. I cooked all of them, and then I got like so many buffs, so I was like, okay, I'm good. But that was after I got my ass kicked so many times in the depths with like that specific endgame part. So yeah.
I just unlocked memory.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not Link, but I did unlock a memory. When I first finished Ganondorf, I made my way all the way through, and like I said, I thought it was really difficult. So I got there, and I hadn't cooked any Sunderlands or anything. I had however many hearts I had when I got there. I had 2 hearts.
Oh my god.
For the Ganondorf fight, which
like
meant
2 max. All the other ones were like gone.
Max.
Okay.
They're all gone. So I had to play it like I was playing a Souls game.
Yeah.
And it's the best self-imposed challenge I've had in any Zelda game, because it took me about 15 tries probably.
Okay.
And then I got to the end and I was like, dude, that was the best boss. That was the best boss.
So even when you got a game over, when you respawned, you were at 2 hearts. Oh,
dude, you
okay.
respawn, and you respawn just out, you know, like how everything caves under, and then you're in like a certain area. That it respawns you there.
Okay.
So then you have to go straight back in and do the same thing again and again, unless you just teleport out.
Okay. So that's after the Demon King army?
Yes.
Okay.
After the Demon King army.
Okay. Which is also an amazing moment. I love that. I love the Demon King army when all the sages come out and help you out with that fight. That was amazing. I love that.
That's very cool as well. And then they keep coming and they keep coming. Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
But the craziest thing is, I noticed halfway through doing this self-imposed challenge that you can still use portable cooking pots.
Oh.
And then
during the
fight?
I
realized, and I was like, not during the fight.
Oh, like right outside the fight.
Right outside the fight.
Yeah.
So then I was debating it and I was like, this is too much fun. I can't.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, the Ganondorf fight was amazing. It's everything I wanted it to be. It was a perfect, like, it just felt great. It felt like the thing I loved about Demise is it was like a 1-to-1 sword fight, and even thematically it was cool because it's almost like it's Demise versus Link, but it's also 5 versus Gerhim as well because of the swords. Yeah, but this one was it was the most like hero versus Demon King.
It was just
fight.
a brawl.
Yeah. And the final phase was like, it was a true spectacle, and like it just meant so much having Zelda there versus like, and you then realize that's what the logo was, and you're just like, yes, yeah. Because I kind of saw it coming. Unfortunately, first of all, it was spoiled for me because like I saw a picture of the demon dragon like very early on, but I was like, oh, it's a malice dragon. Maybe like one of the dragons gets corrupted. I was like, oh, I didn't realize. Yeah. I thought it was kind of like Nadra in Breath of the Wild. I didn't realize the red hair. I didn't realize the horns. I didn't put 2 and 2 together in that sense, right? So I didn't realize it was Ganondorf. So like the longer I played the game, when I saw Zelda becomes a light dragon, I was like, what if it's Ganondorf? What if? And then I saw that it's Ganondorf, and it just felt so much cooler actually experiencing it. And have you, let me ask you this, have you played Final Fantasy XVI this year?
Yes.
Have you completed it?
Yes.
So I liked a lot of the Eikon fights in Final Fantasy XVI. I loved Titan, I loved Bahamut, I loved Odin, I loved all those. I think Bahamut is my favorite. Bahamut is one of my favorite boss fights of all time. But I think this Demon Dragon one, just me being a Zelda fan, the music, the lead up to it, the first phase with Ganondorf, it was all so well done. I'll never forget that. That's a very high point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, just on that Final Fantasy point, dude, those boss fights were crazy though. Every single one felt like a real like fight to the death.
Yeah, and
I had so many problems. It was so good.
It just gets better and better and better. Like Bahamut, like that whole like chapter where like you start off and then you like fight Bahamut and then you fight him again and again and again. That was that's easily the best part of the game for me, and like it was just incredible. I'm still writing my very long scripted review on Final Fantasy 16, and I do talk about that specific fight in there quite a bit. But yeah,
the emotions during Final Fantasy 16 fights are so high at all times.
And the music makes it even better. The music makes it so good. Yeah, is that also a Game of the Year contender for you? Is that up there?
For me, it's I think it's somewhere in the top 5.
Yeah,
somewhere in the top 5. I mean, I think boss fight wise, it's for me, it's a new standard of boss fights for games that aren't Dark Souls games, because those fights were
spectacles.
Yeah, every single one was a giant spectacle, and not every boss needs to be a giant spectacle. But if you're gonna make a game where bosses are gonna be, that's how you do it.
Oh yeah. I had some other issues with 16 as well. I'll get more into that in my review of it, but otherwise, I will say this: I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I was very skeptical and very critical about the game before it came out, but then I played it and I was like, hey, there's some really good things in here. I really enjoyed a lot of this. So yeah, but let's get into the story now. I will say this: story-wise, I think the game overall does things better than Breath of the Wild. Present day stuff was more involved, had more things happening. Memories were still there, but the memories were better. The memories were more enjoyable. Like, they were better directed, better acted, better animated. Like, it was just better scenarios that you put these characters in, specifically Zelda, Rauru, Sonia. I loved Rauru and Sonia. I loved those characters a lot. Like, I loved getting to know them, getting to see more about them. I wish we got more of them. I really wish we did. Especially Sonia. I was like, ah.
Oh, dude.
Did you look at the leaked art book when it leaked back in February?
This is Adam's fault. I may have had sneak peeks.
I looked through it and I saw Rauru and Sonia and I was like, I need to know everything about these two characters, everything, because I saw Rauru and I was like, that's the guy from the trailer in the painting, the cave painting, that's him. And this Zonai woman, I just called her Zonai woman, could also probably be the woman in the painting. So I wanted to know everything. I was like, who are they? Where are they? Where do they come from? Are they in the present or in the past? What is this? And then I realized that they translated the name as Rauru, and I was like, what?
Dude, that was crazy for when that first came out. I remember people were using it on Twitter a lot, so I didn't really know who they were talking about at the time.
Yeah.
But just knowing that someone called Rauru was gonna be in the game, it was just like, what?
Why do you think they named him Rauru? First of all, I love that they did, but
it's because it's the connection to light, isn't it?
Yeah, Sage of Light.
It's exactly. It's the he is. If you're gonna name someone after Sage of Light, you call them Rauru.
Yeah, and another person I was talking to said it's probably a name used quite frequently in Hyrule for people in high standards, or even just a just normal name like Joshua or Matthew or someone like that in Hyrule's history that they use.
Dude, you said Joshua in my brain. I translate it into Clive's voice.
Yeah, Joshua. Yeah, but yeah, I love that they called him Rauru, and I for one saw a lot of Ocarina of Time parallels in this game. Some which were done very well, some which I was like, you could have doubled down on that, but it's fine. But
yeah. Sure.
Yeah, overall, what are your thoughts on the story? Story-wise, what we got from Tears of the Kingdom. I have some issues, but we can get into that later. Not so much issues, but some criticisms, but we'll get into that later, yeah.
Better than Breath of the Wild story, in my opinion, as well. I think story and lore are two very different things. I think that's a big caveat, because I think the lore of Tears of the Kingdom isn't as good as Breath of the Wild's.
Oh, okay.
And I think part of that is because it's a sequel.
Yeah.
But then I think the story is, on a standalone basis, I think the story is better. And the only thing that is slightly unfortunate is just the fact they had to really use the memory system again.
Yeah.
Like, you are pushed in the right direction of each memory.
With the geoglyphs, that was done better, yeah.
For sure. But if there's already an ordering to it, there's no reason to not just make us do it in an order.
Yeah. That's
because it just makes the story worse.
I liked the memories more in Tears of the Kingdom, and I liked that they had a like linear story. But that's what I didn't like in Breath of the Wild. I was like, this memory doesn't connect to this one or this one or this one. They kind of do, because like Zelda's like, oh, on my birthday I'm gonna go to Mount Lanayru, and then the next one is her at Mount Lanayru. But like it felt like understandable to do it out of order, and I didn't like that in Breath of the Wild. But Tears of the Kingdom had that linear structure, but I'm like, oh no, I saw Sonya die too early, so like...
Oh, exactly. Dude, I had Sonya die so early because I went up to the Wind Temple, and it's like up next to that Gleeok you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude.
Yeah.
But I think basically just the way that it was done, the actual story itself was better, but the formatting of the story just, it didn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been that way, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think if it was a linear story, people would have taken way less offense to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think that some things about the main story quest, I feel like there should have been some like checkpoints and like restrictions. Because I was like, oh, what if the Kakariko Village story was like, after you do a few of the regional phenomenon, then like one of the ring ruins falls, and then you do another one, and then the ring ruin falls, and that adds more to the mystery. Like, is Zelda like doing this, or like why is Zelda doing this? So that would have been, because after a while, like when I did the Kakariko Village stuff, left, I didn't come back unless I wanted to do that one really cool side adventure. When I came back after going to Hyrule Castle, I came back and I'm like, they're like, oh, Zelda's like an imposter. Oh, now you can go up to the ring ruins. I was like,
Yeah, dude. You know when they do like the, did you do the Spirit Temple at the end of the game?
I did, yes.
After all the other ones, yes. I just remember, because Adam did the Spirit Temple before.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Then I kind of finished the game, and obviously by that point, you know what's going on with Zelda.
Yeah.
And it's like, everyone's still going, something's going wrong with Zelda, and you're like, dude, I know, I've known this for the past 50 hours.
Yeah, that's just a product of Link's character, because I even feel like if Skyward Sword Link was in that position, he would say something like, oh, that's not Zelda, or something. Tears of the Kingdom Link's are just like, continue.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, that's Zelda. Yeah, there's something sus about her. Yeah, but I agree with that. And another thing, like speaking of Spirit Temple, one of my friends, they went to the Thunderhead Isle very early, like after like 1 or 2 dungeons. They did the Thunderhead Isle, were so engrossed by it, so like intrigued by it, did all of the Thunderhead Isle, went down to the Construct Factory, did that, did the Spirit Temple, then beat the game. And they're like, I beat the game because like it led me into that. And I was like, but what about everything else?
It's very strange, yeah.
I was like, I mean, that's just the game that they've made where you can do it in any order. But I wish that like if you went into Thunderhead Isle, it would have given you like this lightning strike and like thrown you off or something. Yeah. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, getting to Thunder Island itself, I tried for a little bit and I was like, it'll be a dungeon at the end because Adam's already told me about it. I'll do it later.
Yeah. Do you know Limcube?
Yeah.
I was watching some of Limcube's videos, and he's like, you're gonna see a thundercloud area above Pharaon. Don't go in there until you are ready. So I heard that, I was like, okay, I won't. And no matter how like tempted I am to do it, I won't go in there. And when I went in there and I saw Thunderhead Isle, my Skyward Sword fanboy just
I bet.
Yeah. But yeah, story-wise, one of my big, like, issues was the consistency between Breath of the Wild. Like, Sheikah Tech is one thing, character like relationships and consistencies is another. I'm like, this is a sequel, but like, why do people not remember Link, or why do people not reference what happened in the past? And that's fine, because like the story is still like good that is being told, but it just kind of took me out of the immersion of it being a sequel to Breath of the Wild in that way. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it lends some credence to the fact that in lore, these games are told as a legend. And so they didn't. But I don't know. It's such a flimsy thing to use against it. I think. Dude, that Sheikah thing was crazy. Oh, people were so annoyed.
Especially like, I didn't expect I expected like them to be asked that in an interview, but I will be honest, that was one of the worst answers they could have given. I'm like, of course, like, yes, people were curious about this mystery, but you have people like Pura and Robbie and Zelda who are like smart intellectual researchers who would look into this. And that's kind of like what Breath of the Wild set up. They're like, Varuta is like acting weirdly. Let's go into like Zora's domain and see why that happened. But I just wish if it was like 1 or 2 lines of dialogue in the game from an NPC or Robbie or Pura, it would have added a lot to the like world building and continuity. But yeah, it's whatever. Yeah,
I feel like we would have had a lot less problems with it. To be fair, I think the thing is, we all knew it was the answer to some extent, I think. I mean, it was the best answer they could give was, I don't know, they kind of just went. I was kind of, after playing the game, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. My headcanon was when the upheaval happened, a lot of the shrines that were still maybe there, or the Sheikah tech that was there, just went like down to the depths, and the gloom just corroded it, and it just like went, because
you wait, in 5 years there'll be a big theory video about how underneath every bit of gloom is a shrine, because underneath every single shrine is a gloom. Is
a light root.
Oh dude, that stuff is crazy. When I first noticed that was insane.
That is actually really cool, because it adds to more thought of like, the Zonai definitely knew about the depths, but like, what is this connection with the depths and the surface, and what did the Zonai do down there? The depths is so cool. I love the depths so much. Everyone is like, the depths are all right. I think Adam was saying something about like, the depths are cool, but like it kind of like overstayed its welcome for me. I think I honestly spent most of my time in the game in the depths, just flying and gliding, and just it was cool, fun. I loved it, and it just added a lot to the mystery. Like, why are the old Zelda like costumes or outfits down here? Why are there giant statues of the races of the surface? Like, there's a lot of mystery down there, and I loved it.
I think from an actual story point of view, I think the hook to keep playing was way better. Because I think that there wasn't much of a hook to keep playing Breath of the Wild. It was just save the kingdom. Because you didn't really know that Zelda was with Calamity Ganon until you finish all the memories anyway. So it's like, you've experienced the story by the time you get to that point.
I think you even know as early on as when King Rome tells you. He's like, you have to say my daughter.
That's a good point, I forgot about that.
You're like, you have to say my daughter. But still, nothing really changes.
Because the thing is, you know Tears of the Kingdom Zelda by that point, so comparatively, you know her so well, and you know that after the beginning of the game, the linear section of the game, where Zelda nerds out and everything, even just that little bit gives you a bit more of a connection to Zelda. Because you're like, okay, this is the kind of relationship that Link and Zelda have now, where they, well, not they, but Zelda can nerd out at Link every now and then, and Link will just look at her like...
He's a good listener.
He's a good listener, he doesn't like butting in. But I think from a lore standpoint, whereas it might be too early to tell, but I think there are a lot of mysteries in Breath of the Wild that there is an answer that is inferred somewhere. Or there is an implication somewhere. Which is why I think Breath of the Wild lore and world building took off so high. Whereas Tears of the Kingdom, on the surface you've got you know, pretty much the old stuff with some new buildings, but nothing you can speculate on from 100 years ago. In the depths, there's a ton of mysteries in the depths. But to the same point, there's so many mysteries that will never be solved, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I think that isn't a bad thing, but I think the Zelda team, they clearly know that there is a big content creation space for Zelda now. Because, I mean, even if you go on the HUD mode, you ask for a pro HUD, it takes away the hearts now. Wasn't even a thing in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing, especially with the Zonai as well, I think. I think to some extent they were probably added in at some point and they were like, okay, so that's basically the Hylians now, but now it's the Zonai, I think. So I think, just in general, the lore is a lot more murky, which it makes for more open-ended theories, which I think is a good thing. But when there isn't a legitimate could-be answer, that's when the lore gets a bit murky and people turn off and they don't care quite as much as they did.
There's a lot of ambiguity in this world of Tears of the Kingdom's Hyrule, and that lends into a lot of the cool mysteries, but it also is like, yeah, exactly, we can't arrive at a solid answer, but that in the end, that's what Zelda is. And I remember even before, I don't know, like, I used to watch Zelda videos all the way back in like 2010, before the official timeline came out, and that was when the ambiguity was at its highest. Like, is like the big question and the big like point of contention was, is Minish Cap one of the earliest games in the timeline? And everyone was like, no, you're so stupid for thinking that. How could you think Minish Cap is so high? And then the people who were saying Minish Cap is so high in the timeline, so early in the timeline, actually gave some good arguments. And then the timeline came out. Lo and behold, it is the second one. It's so cool.
Dude, I think I don't know, Breath of the Wild, it nailed world building and lore so well. Yeah. Almost feels like beginner's luck, but then they tried to lean into it just a little bit too heavy this time. Yeah. I hope they kind of learn from that a little bit in the future. I hope so too. If they do tend to keep doing the open world stuff, because like as an example, with some locations like Forgotten Temple. Now that in Tears of the Kingdom, it's a very interesting place, but in Breath of the Wild, a lot of us came up with a conclusion that it was like, the sealed grounds. That there is the sealed grounds. Yeah. Or I'm trying to think of more, but there should be more that come to mind. It was the sealed grounds, or I thought it was sealed grounds is the one, like the big thing, because it had the biggest tree and everything in it. Yeah, the tree, the Hylia statue was the biggest and most prominent, and now when the Hylia statue is removed, you have the Zonai stuff in the back, which is interesting, but like I also don't think that like debunks the theory, because if the Zonai were that early, they could have like established that room or that area after. So I think I mean, I'm gonna keep this one brief because we've been talking for way too long about just the lore. Yeah. But I've got a video coming out at some point soon, hopefully, maybe, eventually. Where obviously in Breath of the Wild and in the Masterworks and everything, create a champion, you've got this thing that goes, the Zonai were a barbaric tribe. They had godlike powers and everything. And while they definitely did have godlike powers, they weren't barbaric. And the barbarian armor set was made for a human. Which, it's just interesting, because I think the Zonai that's referring to isn't the same as the other Zonai, which is a good hook for my video for hopefully next week. Because the Zonai were like the originators of Hyrule, and then they like raised a lot of Hyrule up in the sky. So they weren't dedicated, like they weren't native to Faerun region. That's what I mean. They weren't native to the Faerun region. So that's a very interesting concept, that's a lot of food for thought. But then by the time that they should have, by the time that they would have had to move to Faerun region, they were dead. Because Mineru and Rauru would have died. So it's like, another thing is
my headcanon is I feel like Sonia is from Lurelin Village, or one of the ancestors of the people who are currently from Lurelin Village. So maybe they were the barbarians, and and maybe like Sonia and Raru's marriage was like a political marriage to like quell the tensions of the Zonai and the barbarians, and then it just got mixed up in history or something.
Yeah, dude, I think that, for me, I think there are a lot of smaller mysteries in Tears of the Kingdom that do have genuine potential to be answered. But the ones where the Zelda team intended for there to be a mystery, I don't think they hit as hard as they did in Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Personally.
I agree with that there as well. I also want to go back to one thing you said earlier, where like the game with its story kind of like urges you to keep on going to like find out more and stuff, right? I think the memories do that very well, especially when you slowly piece together that Zelda will become the Light Dragon, and then when you see her become the Light Dragon, you're like, wow, that's amazing. And then like I think the Master Sword retrieval is the best in the series. So
yeah,
like
I think I agree. Yeah.
And like I said before, like the fact that Zelda becomes a Light Dragon, you kind of infer and think like, what does that mean for Dinral, Farosh, Naydra, and what does that mean for like Ganondorf? Because he will have a secret stone. He has a secret stone as well. So that's one thing I appreciated about the story quite a bit.
Yes, but yeah, I think the lore and the story of Tears of the Kingdom, it's very murky, but I don't think they're bad by any means. I think we were just in the lore department anyway. I think we were a little bit spoiled with Breath of the Wild, and now with a sequel to in the same world, we're just kind of going through the motions, and I think it will just pick up again. Everyone's interest will pick up again when the next game's announced, I think.
With a refresh, with a new like Link and Zelda and all that.
Yes, because then everyone will go, I want to talk about Zelda again.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to end off with two things. One thing is, real quick, are you disappointed or upset with the no DLC? I'm slightly bummed, I will say. Slightly, because because like it would have been cool to like have new Sky Islands, new areas in the depths, and it could have been a good opportunity to fill out some like stuff in the lore. So yeah.
I definitely agree with that side of it. I think it could have done for the lore reasons. I think my reasoning, basically, I didn't think that there was going to be DLC from the start, just because.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the world was so full already, and I think adding anything else new to it that required a loading zone or anything, like even if you did the same sort of thing as the Champion's Ballad, I think it would hit the Switch a little bit too hard.
Yeah, I can see that. So better to just go on to the next Zelda game on Switch 2,
And I think also, they'd been working on the world for 10 years. I can kind of understand just wanting to get off it, especially after having to go... Yeah, especially having to go through COVID and everything as well. You'd just be like, please let us release this game, and then it came out, and it's like, let's not do DLC.
Yeah, that's understandable, yeah.
So yeah, I think there is always going to be a bit of disappointment short term, but long term we're going to be very thankful for it, I think.
Yeah. I think
in 4 or 5 years time we'll be like, you know what, I'm glad.
because this game took 6 years to develop. I think with like the fact that they're not doing DLC means the next Zelda game is already in production, and it might come out maybe sooner, I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, you could always hope for an announcement. Obviously, I think 2017 to 19 was a little bit, just a little bit too early.
Yeah.
But I think a 3-year gap for the next one wouldn't be that bad, considering, hopefully, we won't have a COVID-like experience again, and they won't have done DLC.
Yeah.
I think it means a 4 to 5 year turnaround time.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable, and I think. Especially like Monolith Soft, who has been helping with these games, has grown quite a bit. The Zelda team itself has grown quite a bit. I also think that development on Switch 2 might be a little easier for them because they have like a lot more resources. So we might see a quicker turnaround on this game. So we'll see about that. And
definitely hope.
Yeah, my final like question and discussion I want to ask before we close out is, what are your hopes for the next Zelda game, which we kind of hinted at or just talked about? Like, what do you want the most for the next Zelda game?
I mean, art style wise, I just want something either new or just more impressive.
Yeah.
No matter what, it will be more impressive, but even if it was a very similar kind of cell shading look, first off, more expressive faces would be very nice.
Yeah. Second
off, for the NPCs anyway, second off, I think just, I don't know, just make the lighting better and everything. Mm-hmm. If not, just go for a different art style. Mm-hmm. I think for a different art style, I'd rather them go for either the Twilight Princess route, where they go really realistic, or you go the complete opposite direction and go really crazy and out there. Either one of those, I wouldn't be opposed to.
If they go Twilight Princess, I think they should do something akin to the Zelda Wii U tech demo. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, that was very good because that looked way better than Twilight Princess. And it was
still, to this day, it still gets put into discussion every time that a new Zelda game comes out.
Yeah.
Or not comes out, is announced. Even when Tears of the Kingdom was announced, it's like, hey,
Zelda
Wii that tech demo, dude? What about that giant spider in that tech demo? What about Armagoma?
Yeah, and especially with all the Switch 2 videos that people are making and talking about, they're always talking about the Zelda Wii U tech demo. Like, what if they have something like that to show off for, hey, this is the power of Switch 2?
Yeah, dude, I mean, for everything else, for the future of Zelda, I'm pretty open at the minute, because I think, as a series, it has now grown to a point, but I do also think that Tears of the Kingdom was them conceding that some traditional elements were better.
Yeah, like the compromise you had with the dungeons, some of the story layout, the bosses, all that. Yeah.
All that sort of stuff, I think it's clearly going, okay, we see that some of you didn't like some of the stuff from Breath of the Wild. Now we're going to pull some of that back, but we can't do it fully because it's a sequel. We can't. There is an expectation from a sequel to be like the last one to some extent.
Yeah.
It's like Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Very similar game because it has to be. If you do a game that's too out there and dissimilar, then I mean, usually it just won't sell anywhere near as well. Even in the case of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Yeah. Which is, I mean, they're widely different games, but they didn't sell great on the N64.
Yeah, I think a bigger departure for a direct sequel was Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass. Yes. I mean that just also lends to Phantom Hourglass being the first DS Zelda game, but that was like when I played Phantom Hourglass, I was like, this is not what I wanted it to be.
What is this?
Yeah, but then I played Spirit Tracks and I really enjoyed Spirit Tracks, but yeah. But I really sorry, continue. What were you saying?
No, I'm when it comes to the Zelda series and the formula and everything, I'm super malleable because I think what we've got now is. What we had in Breath of the Wild is the biggest change from the formula that we're ever going to have, I think. So, at worst, they'll just slowly inch their way back, and sometimes they'll go back around. But by then, it won't matter, because they're still Zelda games, and they're doing something different, and it's still fun to play them.
That's what I love about Zelda. Everything is different from what came before. It's not samey. It's kind of like Final Fantasy. Like, most of the Final Fantasy games are very different, and then you see, like, 15 and 16 are very different from what came before and even from each other. And then with Zelda, like, I see so many differences between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like, even though they're very similar. But of course, like, those two games are different from, like, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, all that. And I think the biggest thing for me is I want them to, like, double down on that story, make it a little more, like, have that balance of linearity and non-linearity. I think that would be really cool. Something like what... I don't know how, like, Red Dead or Witcher does it, but you still have that freedom. But whenever you want to continue the main story is, like, it's
readily available.
It's readily available, and it's, like, very, like, good. It's very deep, very impactful. I think a good example that Nintendo has done is Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U, because that game versus the other numbered Xenoblade games it's non-linear, it's open world. It is Nintendo's actually very first open world game before Breath of the Wild.
Yes, yeah, I saw that, yeah.
But they have like a linear story. Whenever you go back to the barracks and want to continue the story, it's like a linear story that has a lot of like impactful things going on in it. So if the Zelda team does that, then they made the perfect like video game ever.
Yeah, I mean, even to an extent, Xenoblade 3.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that it's more like open zone rather than open world. It's still very much in the same ballpark.
Yeah, I think Xenoblade 3 has one of the best stories ever, and I think the world and interactivity of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, with the layers like the sky, surface, depths, with the abilities and the like mobility and the interactivity, plus on top of that, a story kind of like that.
Yes.
That's
it would
cool.
be like we're debating Tears of the Kingdom being the best game at the minute. That would be the best game of all time.
Like bar none, it would be like just But one more thing I wanted to ask you, like if you were to give like a list, since we're so close to the end of the year and we talked about this in the beginning of the podcast, what would be, I guess, your 5 favorite games of the year of 2023?
Somehow I knew you were going to ask this, and I already had this up in my notes.
Oh wow, that's great. I have to be the one to think about it a lot more than you do, I think. So
I am not going to include Future Redeemed.
Okay.
Because it's actually my 6th.
Okay. I'm curious to see your list now then.
Right, okay. Number 5. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Okay, cool.
I played it way after the fact, like way after all the bugs had been mostly ironed out.
And on PS5 though, right?
Yes,
okay.
PS5. I was about to point to it, it's not here.
Yeah.
I think it was just, it's another sequel that was just better than its predecessor. It was just fantastic. I think the story had more emotion to it, more cool lightsaber fights, which is what you play a Star Wars game for.
Yeah.
It's great.
I've heard like it was amazing, barring the like performance issues. It was like a phenomenal game.
Yeah, it was great. Apart from that, number 4 is Final Fantasy 16.
Oh, nice.
Which I don't know. I am a Final Fantasy guy, but I've only been a Final Fantasy guy for the last, give or take, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my first one that I think really gelled when it first came out. Because like 15, I played it and I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
16 was, it's a big departure. It's a lot more like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But, dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
It was everything I could have wanted, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect going in, and it was just great. Number 3, for Resident Evil 4.
Oh, yes.
Which I'd never played before the remake.
Okay.
I owned 4, but then I was kind of waiting on a remake so that I could go back to it after, and I still haven't yet, but I am a big sucker for Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm. I need to get into that series. Yeah, I have 2 on Steam, and then I need to play 4 as well, and I think I had 7 on PS Plus, but I canceled PS Plus. But I played a bit of 7, it was good, but I should get more into that series. It seems really cool.
A lot of people would say 1, but especially 2 remake, 4 remake, probably 4 as well.
Yeah.
But 7 and 8, they're all like some of my favorite games ever.
Oh, nice.
Plus, they've got that weird timeline thing where it's really convoluted, but it is fun to try and worm your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
Great games though, just fun, and they're so campy, so it just makes it. It's not always so like depressing. It's just like, Lamau, look at that thing over there.
Yeah.
Number 2, Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Which, that just blew me away. I think the side content and some of the things that they're hinting at for the future as well.
Oh,
very cool.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it because spoilers. But I was very, very happy to see what they're hinting at. throughout many points of the game, and in the end, I was like, yes.
Yeah, dude. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll have to wait another 5 years for that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Tears of the Kingdom first, which I hesitate to call my favorite game of all time, but I would have called it that in June.
Okay. Well, what is your favorite game of all time, though, if you could choose? Just since you said that.
The funny thing is, before this, it was Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
So I'm in a very hard place where now I either say Persona 5 or which, by the way, will probably be overtaken by Persona 3 in about.
I think Reload is gonna take it as well, because I have a video planned, because I was talking to one of my friends who's a huge Persona 3 fan. He actually got to play it at Gamescom, because he's from Belgium. He got to go to Gamescom in Germany and play it, and like, he's a huge fan of Persona 3, so he was telling me about the story and all that, and I was like, if everything is as good as it is in Persona 5 with a better story, this could be my favorite Persona game ever.
You know what? I played Portable at the start of the year, which I really regret doing now.
Yeah.
But it was, it was really good. You know what? Actually, I actually kind of lied with those 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, technically, they were the games that those 5. Sorry, because technically those were the games I finished this year that came out this year.
Yeah. Oh, but you had like backlog games.
Yeah,
as well,
I have
right?
like my backlog games.
I'm specifically curious for your 2023 like new release games though, because
that was my new release.
Yeah, especially when we get into Game Awards season, I want to hear like what people think of this game versus other games. But I'll get into mine real quick before we close out. So, let's see. Wait. Okay, yes, there are 5. Okay, number 5 is Sea of Stars. I didn't expect it to make the cut of like my top 5 of 2023, but I'm still playing through it right now, and it just has the vibes, the music, the emotion. I love just the vibes of that game. It's just nice, cozy vibes, but also
it has that old Chrono Trigger feel.
It's got a really cool turn-based combat system, really cool environments and areas, really amazing puzzles, just a really top-tier indie game. I loved it. So Sea of Stars is number 5. Number 4 is Hi-Fi Rush, and that is a personal pick because I've played that game early in this year on Game Pass, and I was like, I want more games like this. It's very original, it's very unique, and also just because personally I play guitar and I love the fact that the guy is using a guitar and it's all about rock music. I love that. So that's a personal like game of the year for me. Number 3 is Spider-Man, because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Love the game. It did everything better than the original, and like I said, like as a Raimi fan, this game was a love letter to me. I loved it.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Future Redeemed, because I am a massive Xenoblade fan, and I think, having played the other games, I think this might be Monolith Soft's best thing that they've done with the series, because they incorporated...
The thing is, I kind of do agree,
Yeah, they incorporated things from all the other games, gameplay and story-wise, but also the affinity goal system is a concept from Xenoblade X that they like modernized and revamped in Xenoblade 3, and then the way it ended was amazing, and seeing Shulk and Rex was amazing, so I love that. It is arguably my game of the year, but Tears of the Kingdom is doing, like I said, it's doing things that no other video game is doing, and it's mind-boggling and insane, and it's amazing. So that's number 1. But yeah, it's... I think this is the best year for video games we've had in a very long time. Yeah.
The thing is, from the games that I've played, I think it's the best video gaming playing year that I've had.
Yeah.
I think it's very close to the best of all time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, this month, dude, Alan Wake just came out.
Oh,
I mean, I don't actually want to play that one yet, but man, that's like a Resident Evil-like.
It's crawling into the Game of the Year nominations. And Armored Core, I have not played Armored Core.
I've not tried it.
I want to give that a shot, and so many other games. But yeah, but that about does it. Anything else you want to say about Zelda and Tears of the Kingdom or anything like that before we close out?
Zelda good.
Very good. Very, very good. Very, very awesome series. But But yeah, thank you so much for joining Ed from Triforce Trends. You can check him out in the description below. You want to tease any upcoming like projects you're working on or anything?
I mean, I already did the shameless plug about the fake Zonai video earlier,
yeah.
so I mean, I haven't been uploading much, so no.
yeah, it's been a busy time for me as well. I've been trying to write scripts and like get inspiration for videos, but but
it doesn't happen. It's not happening sometimes.
Yeah, but I'm excited for whatever you got cooking because I always love to watch your Zelda videos. But yeah, check them out in the description below if you like Nintendo's Zelda, and I think you're also like doing another like thing with other pop culture video content. How's that going?
Man, I have to do like basically I'm trying to do 3-hour scripts. I'm trying to do like proper like long video essays. But my brain switches off after like doing 4 pages of a script, and I'm like, oh dude, I know I have to come back to this in like a few days, and I just forget.
My brain switches off after like half of a page or a couple paragraphs, so I commend you for going that far.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Check out Triforce Trends. Also, I keep forgetting to say this, but this podcast, this video will also be on Spotify, so you can check it out there. It'll be in the link in the description. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. This is Nishquick and Triforce Trends signing off. Have a great day and go play some great games today, like Tears of the Kingdom. It's fantastic. Later. See you guys in the next one.